What's up, y'all? It's the Nature Girl 30 here, and it is a day after the Elimination Chamber Perth. And yes, Perth was going to remind everybody that, hey, it is in our country. We paid for it. We gonna put our name on it, and y'all gonna love it. And there was no way on this planet that I was going to wake up at 5 a.m. to watch this thing. So the day of, or the morning of, I actually watched the replay, and guys, it was a pretty decent show. But I'm going to get a little bit deeper into each of the actual matches, as well as giving my overall rating at the end, the usual thing. But I am not going to talk about the segment with Grayson Waller, because that is for a video that's going to be separate in itself, because I actually do have a few theories leading on up to WrestleMania, and that's going to probably be on my theories video that's going to be coming up soon. But as of right now, and if I sound a bit stuffy, it is allergy season, so my bad for my voice sounding like I have a stuffed up nose. So, but anyway, guys, let's get started with this review of the Elimination Chamber Perth. Let's start off with a good old-fashioned kickoff match with Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae versus the Kabuki Warriors for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Honestly, guys, there's really not much to say about this match because, in my opinion, there wasn't a lot leading up to it. They decided to add it to the Elimination Chamber match, and to be honest, this match was a bit sloppy. I mean, I wasn't really a huge fan of Indy Hartwell, but she started to grow on me as time went on. Candice LeRae, I was a big fan of her, but they really haven't been doing a lot with her. It shows that both Indy Hartwell as well as Candice LeRae can be a really good tag team, but in my humble opinion, Candice LeRae doesn't really need to be on a tag team. But if she does choose a tag team partner, Indy Hartwell is probably the best choice. The Kabuki Warriors, let's just say that they don't really have a lot of good chemistry in the ring with other people. It just doesn't work. I mean, with Io Shirai, well, she used to be Io Shirai, now she's Io Sky. But when she was with Kairi and Io had the best chemistry. It just worked when they were the Sky Pirates. But for some reason, when they tagged Kairi up with Asuka, it just didn't work. It was never the same. It was always off. The matches were usually sloppy. It wasn't really all that great. Asuka's great on her own, but on a tag team, it just doesn't work, at least in my opinion. Again, this match was pretty sloppy. I didn't really care much for the outcome, and it was a given that Indy Hartwell, even though this was in Australia, it is a given that Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae was going to lose because the Kabuki Warriors have to remain strong leading on up to WrestleMania. More than likely, they're going to have another women's tag match at WrestleMania, so they have to go in strong. So it's understandable they weren't going to win here. But honestly, y'all, I mean, I didn't really care much for this match. It wasn't bad, but I can't give it a 3. I gotta give it a 2 out of 5. And the reason why I do is because, number one, the match was incredibly sloppy. There was really no point in even having this match. It's not really a feud leading on up to the championship. This was kind of an irrelevant match. It should have been left for SmackDown or possibly Raw. So I gotta give it a 2 out of 5 stars. It's not that, I mean, they worked their butts off in this match, no doubt. But there was no rhyme or reason to have it here. And it just didn't seem very good in the ring. But other than that, y'all, like I said, it's a 2 out of 5. Okay, now the kickoff is over. Let's start with the first Elimination Chamber match of the day. Over there in Perth, it's daytime, and it was like barely morning where we were. Well, we are in the States, but either or. It was the first match of the pay-per-view was the Women's Elimination Chamber match with Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, Naomi, and Tiffany Stratton being in this match. Naomi and Becky Lynch was the first to actually start off the match. This match in general was amazing. It was amazing to watch. The MVP, seriously, the MVP of this match was Tiffany Stratton. I had no idea how many fans she had in Perth. When she came out, people loved her. Giant pop. Every time she was out there, when she finally got the bell and she came out of her cage, everyone went nuts. Everyone loved Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton is probably one of my favorite heels. I really wanted her to win, to be honest with you. I really wanted her to win. But this match was absolutely fantastic. Raquel Rodriguez, noticing that she wasn't wearing any makeup at all when she came out, I kind of realized why. And Irvin actually sent me the information about it, actually from her Instagram. She had a very bad allergic reaction. I'm not sure if it was a food allergy or if it was a medicinal one or just maybe allergic to makeup, but she had a very serious skin reaction. And you probably noticed the blemishes that was on her skin. It was because of that rash that she had. And it looked really, really bad. That's why she didn't wear any makeup when she came out. She wasn't feeling very well, but she was well enough to actually compete. So I'm very happy for her to be able to compete in this match because, you know, she came a long way. And even though I hate that pose, she did come a long way to be in this match. I'm happy she was able to perform in it despite, you know, her allergy. So I'm happy for her. But we kind of knew she wasn't going to win, but I am happy she was able to perform there. But again, highly impressed with Tiffany Stratton. And Liv Morgan can't catch a break. Let's just be honest. Liv Morgan, from the very beginning, people were rooting for her many years back for her to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. That was an epic fail because they actually gave it to Nikki ASH, which everyone thought was a joke character. Then they kind of went back on that and gave it to her later on that year. The following year. And then, of course, she won the championship. Ever since they kind of botched her push and botched her booking by really screwing with Ronda Rousey, she became the enemy of the fans. Like, she has not been able to get back on the good foot since then. And it even worsens it here when she eliminated the crowd favorite. She got booed no matter what. And then she eliminated Bianca Belair later. And she can't win. She can't catch a break. I feel bad for Liv. She's worked so hard in her career to get to that point and finally being champion, only to have a very, very screwy finish mess things up. And how she was booked and what they told her to say in her promos ruined it, the entire run. I really want her to get back to where she used to be, but she has a long way to go, unfortunately. And the fact that she eliminated the crowd favorites didn't do her no favors. But the winner of the overall match itself was Becky Lynch. I'm not thrilled because I didn't really want to see this. I didn't really want to see Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley because, to be honest with you, it's time for Becky to be putting other people over. That was the reason why she was the NXT champion in the first place, because she wanted to put new talent over. We need to see somebody new, somebody fresh to step up to the plate. We need to see somebody stepping ahead of the legends, because let's be honest, Becky Lynch is already in legendary status. And yeah, maybe I'm a bit biased towards Tiffy, but I really wanted Tiffany Stratton to win. And honestly, her versus Rhea would have been a fantastic match because Tiffany Stratton went toe-to-toe with Becky Lynch, and even though she lost, it shows that she's able to go up against a legend. And yes, she wasn't going to win because Becky Lynch has been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But having her learn from that and having Tiffany Stratton face Rhea Ripley, somebody that came from the same area she came from, so they were both at NXT, having them both, one being NXT and being champion, the other one coming up from NXT, who was NXT Women's Champion, to be champion on the main roster, in my opinion, that would have told a way better story. And also, you can possibly say Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley, the one match that everybody has been clamoring to see, even though we have seen them fight before. And I do believe it was in NXT that we have seen them fight before, but we want to see it on a main roster level. We want to see it on a WrestleMania level, and I will be rooting for that too. But seeing Becky Lynch there, I guess maybe they think it will put butts in the seats. To be honest with you, I'm kind of mixed on that. I still don't want it to be Becky, but it is going to be Becky, and they teased it when they were in Philadelphia that it was something that was going to happen anyway. Now, from what I'm hearing, Bianca Belair and Tiffany Stratton are going to probably feud. I'm hoping that they actually do have their WrestleMania moment. I'm hoping that Tiffy will have her first WrestleMania moment because she's earned it, especially when she fought Becky and fought so hard to get to where she was. I'm hoping that Bianca Belair will be able to give her that WrestleMania moment. because Bianca Belair has had hers. It's time to pass it to Tiffy. But having Becky win kind of put a sour taste in my mouth, but I know that the match is still going to be good. But overall, and this is going to add to my rating, I have to give it a 5 out of 5. Why? Because everybody in this match was connected in some way. They either fought each other and lost. They either screwed one person or the other. They were either clamoring to try to get back to that spot. They wanted that title. They wanted that title. They wanted to face Rhea Ripley. They either were screwed by Rhea Ripley or screwed by somebody in that match. There was a connection with everybody in that match. It told an amazing story. And not to mention, Tiffany Stratton being a newcomer has a lot to prove. Everybody wanted that belt, and it showed. It showed in that entire match, and that's what it needs to be. It needs to show that that belt that Rhea Ripley has is incredibly important. They did an amazing job with that here. Everybody worked their butts off in that match. Everyone told an amazing story being in that match. It's a 5 out of 5, straight up. The next match actually was pretty fun. The Judgment Day for the WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championships with, of course, the Judgment Day versus Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, which is now known as the New Catch Republic. Honestly, British Strong Style was right there. I'm kind of with Luke Owen on this, and I watched his review after watching, the actual Chamber. British Strong Style was there. I don't know why y'all just chose to use that name. I know there's a lot of history behind it, especially a lot of English history behind it, but no, it's something that's not catchy, and I don't think anyone's going to remember it. And the fact that WWE.com actually did not put the New Catch Republic as the name for Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate shows me they might just change it. There's a good possibility they might just change the name. But moving on from there, this actually was a pretty fun match. I am a huge fan of Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. I'm happy that he's now Pete Dunne and no longer Butch. I'm happy Pete Dunne is now the Bruiserweight. And honestly, I have been a big fan of Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne since the NXT UK tournament for I guess it was for the UK Championship. And that tournament was absolutely phenomenal, straight up. Especially night 2. That was the best. And I was a huge fan of Tyler Bate. I'm happy that he won. Pete Dunne was definitely an amazing villain, especially an antagonist for Tyler Bate. I can't say, I'm surprised to say antagonist, but he was definitely a villain for Tyler Bate. And I'm absolutely a fan of those two. And seeing how they're tag team together, I'm not going to say it makes sense, but they have a lot of chemistry. They have a lot of great chemistry in the ring, and it showed when they actually faced the Judgment Day. And of course, Finn Balor is definitely a vet when it comes to this, as well as Damian Priest. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I laughed so hard when Dominic was actually trying to announce them, and the crowd would not let him speak, and they just booed him practically out of the ring. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And this guy it's so fun to hate him. Like, it is so fun to absolutely hate Dominic Mysterio. It's just great. It's great. And I'm kind of happy that they're separating him from Rhea Ripley, because it's a given that we know that they're not together. And honestly, there's really no chemistry with those two. So I'm kind of happy that they're slowly drifting them apart and letting them do their own thing, because it's what they need to do anyway. But honestly, y'all, this was an amazing match. Very fun match. Enjoyable match. And it's a given we knew who was going to win here. We knew that the Judgment Day was going to beat, I'm just going to call them Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. I'm not going to call them New Catch Republic. More than likely it's going to change soon. But I digress on that. But anyway, it was an incredibly fun match. I really did enjoy myself watching it. And it was a given that Judgment Day was going to win, especially them having to be going in strong towards WrestleMania. So they're going to keep those titles for a while. Especially now that they're actually replacing the Bloodline in a way. Because the Bloodline is going to be completely dead and gone after WrestleMania 40. We're probably never going to see him again after this. So they're going to be taking their place. They have to remain strong going up into WrestleMania 40, as well as taking the place of the Bloodline. So it makes sense for them to win here. I enjoy myself watching this match. This match definitely gets a 4 out of 5. Really, really great match to watch. Honestly, It just shows not really the fact that they told a story of them knowing each other, but they showed that they really did want those titles because they have something to prove. Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate have a lot to prove. Even though they are vets in what they do, they want to have a championship on the main roster. They were fighting for those titles, and it showed. And of course, Judgment Day are the ultimate bad guys to beat. This was actually a good match by telling the story between underdog versus, I guess, the dominant faction. Dominant faction versus the underdog. They really did a good job telling that story in the ring, as well as showing that they wanted those titles. And honestly, their in-ring work, amazing. Again, 4 out of 5. Again, I'm going to skip the Grayson Waller effect, for that being a whole new video in itself for theories that I have about that segment. So we're going to skip that, and I'm going to go straight to the next Elimination Chamber match, which was the men's Elimination Chamber match, which had Bobby Lashley, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, and L.A. Knight. Yeah. Again, sorry for the raspiness, but either or, guys, there was something off about this match, and I couldn't put my finger on it until I watched the review that Luke Owen did after the Elimination Chamber ended, and he hit the nail on the head. And that was what's bothering me about this entire match. It wasn't the in-ring work. The in-ring work was actually really good. It was really good all the way through. The one thing that bothered me was the one thing that the women did that the men didn't. There was no connection at all to anyone in this match leading on up to the title. You have no idea if these men really wanted it, except for one guy, and that was Drew McIntyre. He was the only one that actually wanted the belt, because he approached Seth Rollins a few months back about wanting to be the #1 contender of the championship. And I think it was right after that whole segment with Cody. And of course, you had Gunther that approached him, wanting to be the World Heavyweight Champion, because he's been the Intercontinental Champ for too long, to where that if he drops the belt, he wants to go after the big time. He wants to go after the World Heavyweight Championship. And in my humble opinion, those two actually made that belt look good. I can't really say the same for everybody else. It doesn't make any sense for Logan Paul, because he's already the U.S. champ, and in my humble opinion, it's kind of making that belt look bad, but I'm not a big fan of Logan Paul. And as for Kevin Owens, he's so obsessed with Logan Paul, he really hasn't gone after the title at all, let alone cared about it. And then Bobby Lashley, he really didn't say much about it except for one time. And honestly, it's Bobby Lashley, so he's been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So I don't really think he cares that much. And Randy Orton, he's a vet. Like, does it really matter for him anymore? No. The only person that makes a lot of sense to win the title was definitely Drew McIntyre, and definitely not LA Knight. I like LA Knight as much as the next person, and he definitely was a crowd favorite, but why put him in the championship picture if he's not there yet? And he's not there yet. He's going to get there. I'm hoping that LA Knight actually takes the title from Logan Paul, and I'm hoping that's going to be the next direction they're going to go, because I see LA Knight more as a U.S. champ than him being the world champ. You're pushing him to the moon way too quick. LA Knight is a crowd favorite, but he needs to go up a few tiers. Like, honestly, I think he needs to be a U.S. champ, then go for the IC belt, then after the IC belt, go for the world title. And I'm hoping that he actually does feud with Logan Paul for him to actually take the U.S. title from him. But here's the problem. You got Kevin Owens. That ain't going to end anytime soon. And I hope it does. Sorry about that. It's not going to end anytime soon, but one day it will, and I'm hoping it's going to end before WrestleMania, but I take that back. There's a lot of heat between him and Logan Paul. It showed in that match. That was probably the most emotion I have seen in that match. And the only connection that I have seen in that match was between Logan Paul and Kevin Owens. That's it. Nothing else. And also, it didn't make any sense for AJ Styles to come out of nowhere and beat the ever-loving crap out of LA Knight. So I guess LA Knight's going to have his hands full with AJ Styles, and it's probably going to be a blow-off match on Raw or SmackDown. But nobody really cared much about the title. At least that's what I got. And Seth Rollins has been looking like a stooge as of late, doing his best to try to promote that belt, making it larger than life, making it the next workhorse belt, when nobody really cares about it. And that's the messed up part if you're trying to create a legacy for another title for another brand, make it worth it. Make everybody care to have it. Make everybody fight to have it. They've been going out of their way to make the one that Roman have seem more valuable. And yes, they blended the two belts together to make it the Undisputed Championship, which sounds better. But if you have that on SmackDown, which is where it's going to stay, you need to bring up your other belt, your main belt. And I got to give it to Seth. He's done everything he could to make it good. But you got to make the people that are fighting for it want to have it. And I didn't get that at all in this match. Hence why I didn't care as much. But I will say this. The finish was probably one of the most interesting finishes I have seen in a long while. This has to be mentioned in the feud. And this is another way to save the side piece belt and make it less of a side piece belt and more of a world championship. The one thing that Seth Rollins has always talked about, even with Cody Rhodes, and this was his pitch to Cody Rhodes, was that the belt he had was his father's title. In other words, it was the workhorse belt. It was the title that everybody worked hard for to keep. It was the title that he worked hard for to make relevant. Now, when you have somebody like Drew McIntyre, who has been an opportunist as of late, not once, but twice, somebody that literally took advantage of the situation to win a match, that goes against everything that belt stands for. They have to bring that up in the feud. If they do, it's going to make that belt relevant, and it's going to bring some relevancy to why Seth should still hold it. And if they give it to Drew, and there's a possibility that Drew will lose it again, after getting it, he's going to probably lose it that night, because we can't forget that Damian Priest still has the Money in the Bank briefcase, and there's a good chance he's going to cash in on Drew McIntyre. It will give people a reason to understand why Drew would lose it. It will be a very unique end to that story. It will be a very unique twist to that story. And other than that, you can expand it on in other ways, to where that he did everything he could to win, only to lose it in the end to somebody that's worse than him. So he has to rethink and readjust in what direction he wants to go, and that might turn him face. There's so many directions you can go here if you incorporate that ending, that finish to the storyline. And I'm hoping that's what they're going to do. But other than that, guys, the in-ring wrestling was really, really good. There was no story here except for an interesting finish. So I'm definitely going to give it a 3 out of 5. And the final match of the night, and I knew that this was going to happen because she is the only Australian champion in the WWE right now, women's champion that is, Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax for the Women's World Championship. Guys, I've been going back and forth about possibly giving this a 5 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5. I was going back and forth when it came to what I should give, what number I should actually give this match. Because I'm not going to lie, the build leading on up to it was there. It was there all the way. From the very beginning when Nia attacked her, to when Nia made her debut, when Nia kept attacking her, it was always back and forth with these two. Mainly with Nia getting the upper hand. And of course, when it came to the promo that they had before Elimination Chamber, and I think this was on SmackDown, or it could be on Raw. Whichever one, leave in the comments if I'm right or wrong. But Rhea Ripley has made it clear that Nia Jax is not good enough to take her title, and that she was going to leave the women's world heavyweight champion, the women's championship. She was going to win. She was going to leave still champion. No matter how hard Nia tries, she is not going to be able to beat her because she's not that good enough. And it's funny how Rhea Ripley was in Nia's shoes a few years back with Charlotte Flair. And how Charlotte Flair beat the ever-loving crap out of her when she honestly challenged her for the title, only for her to lose in a vicious way. And then, of course, she has the most phenomenal match I have ever seen in my life at WrestleMania that just blew it out the water that shows how far she came. I'm wondering if they're going to do the exact same thing here. Because honestly, guys, Nia Jax has made leaps and bounds improvements. She didn't botch. She kind of knew exactly where she needed to be. She lost a lot of weight, and she had to because of her knees. It seems that she has a lot more awareness in the ring. She has gotten a lot better. I will give her that. She was a botchaholic before. She hurt 10 women, and it's just to the point where she's trying to be a safer worker. And at least that's what I'm getting here. Now, of course, with Rhea Ripley, she's a freaking beast. She came a very long way from where she was at NXT on up to where she is now. And I think she kind of is in Charlotte Flair's position, to where that she has to prove to everybody that I am the best. And if you think you're better than me, you got to prove it to me. I think she's in that same position. This match kind of showed that. Except Nia Jax already felt that she was the best going in, knew that she was the best going in. She actually had the biggest ego. And her ego was squashed after this match. No pun intended. But the fact is that I was highly impressed on how great Nia has handled herself in the ring and how better she has gotten over the year since she was gone. How better her performance has gotten since she returned, as well as her in-ring awareness in the ring. And botches are going to happen, but hopefully it won't happen as frequent with her. And of course, like I said, Rhea Ripley is a beast. And she didn't have to carry the match for Nia. It was an equally balanced match. And it showed that it was a David versus Goliath style match. Or Davida versus Goliath type of match. It was a really good, solid match to watch. I was really impressed with everybody in the ring. And Rhea Ripley showed why she was the women's world champion. Straight up, guys. 5 out of 5. Overall, WWE Elimination Chamber Perth gets a 4 out of 5. You had two really, really good women's matches. You had the Women's Elimination Chamber match as well as the Women's World Heavyweight Championship match, which was the main event of the night, which were both amazing matches that told really good stories in the ring, as well as the improvement of the athletes that were in the ring. And as for the Women's Elimination Chamber match, Tiffany Stratton is definitely the MVP. I see great things for her. I see future championships on her end. I am looking forward to seeing her shoot to the stratosphere. The Undisputed Championship match actually was a very fun match to watch. It told a good story without having a strong feud. And honestly, I am looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. And if they do change their name, it doesn't matter. Great chemistry with those two, as well as the Judgment Day really being really great heels that they are. The only disappointments of the night definitely was the kickoff match. The kickoff match was kind of meh. It didn't really do that much for me. It was a bit sloppy, as well as, you know, not really having a reason to have a championship match, a women's tag match, a women's tag championship match on the pay-per-view. It just didn't make any sense to actually have it here. There wasn't a lot of beef going in those two. There wasn't a lot of build leading up to that match. It just happened. For the Men's Elimination Chamber match, same thing. Didn't really tell a good story in the ring, even though the in-ring work is great, but only had a very interesting ending, which kind of makes you wonder where it's going to go from there. Whether they're going to mention it to the road to WrestleMania, especially leading on up to Drew McIntyre's match with Seth Rollins, or if they're going to leave that out. I'm honestly curious to see what direction they're going to go with that, and I'm hoping it's going to do something to elevate the belt. But other than that, guys, this is my that is my rating. 4 out of 5. Okay, those are my ratings, so what is yours? Leave your ratings for each of these matches, or even talk about your favorite matches as well as your overall thoughts of the entire pay-per-view in the comment section below. If you like what I do, by all means subscribe, like this video, and share it with your friends. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.